Attention Talking Simpsons listeners, we have a special mini-series just for you.
We're going through the entire first season of King of the Hill, and you can only hear it if you're a $5 and up patron at patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons.
We're giving the Talking Simpsons treatment to all 13 episodes of King of the Hill's first season, and if you want a free sample, you'll find the first episode available for free in the Talking Simpsons feed. Patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons. It's the only place you'll find the first season of Talk King of the Hill.
Made you go click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
Cartoons from present and the past. Every week will be an animated bash. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! Maybe a short but mostly shows. We'll talk, we'll analyze, exploring as we go. What a cartoon! What a cartoon! What a cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to What a Cartoon, where oil is thicker than water. I'm your host, flesh wearer Bob Mackey, and this is an audio exploration of every cartoon ever. Who is here with me today?
Welcome to the cluster. It's Henry Gilbert.
And today's episodes are the My Life as a Teenage Robot episodes, Sibling, Tsunami, and Tradeshow, Showdown.
Hi, my name's Jenny. Pleased to meet you.
So this episode is a request from one of our high-level patrons, Shy Ranger. Isn't that right, Henry?
Yes, that is right. Premium patron Shy Ranger picked these two episodes from the first season, though they are disparate halves of two separate episodes. But yes, he requested these, and here's what he had to say on why. I wanted to hear you guys talk about a mid-2000s cartoon. You brought this up a couple times, the years of, man, not sure about how this cartoon looks. It's time to finally dive in. There were plenty of good cartoons to choose from, but I chose this one since I really liked it, and I feel it gets overlooked. It has some bleh episodes, but the ones that are good are really good. I picked these two episodes because the first is really good comedic one, and the second is a really cool action one. And so, thank you, Shy Ranger, for this pick. This is true. Me and Bob definitely did not watch the show when it was new in 2003 to 5.
This fell into the short period of my life where I thought I was too cool for American kids cartoons. Of course, I was watching anime for children.
Yes,
but not this. I only watched a few American cartoons at the time, but this was not one of them. And I think I mentioned on Clone High that a lot of animated series had this look. So I just thought, another UPA-style show in the model of Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, they are doing that, but it's not bad. If they do it right, it's not bad.
I really enjoy this. It feels like a real lost Cartoon Network original series. And when I dug into the creators of the show and all the people who worked on it, there's good reason why it feels that way.
Yeah.
But I enjoy this. I watched a good half dozen episodes on top of the ones for this, and stylistically I really enjoy it. It lacks just a little something that I liked more in, say, Dexter's Lab or Powerpuff Girls, but I do really enjoy this series.
And he's a little more heightening, I think, and a few more screaming characters. Not enough screaming characters for my taste, but I do feel that at this point in time, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in the history, we are just off the period where Klasky Csupo, the animation studio, was reigning supreme on Nickelodeon.
Yes.
And I will not shit on them. I did enjoy Rugrats at the time, and I love Duckman. They did make a lot of trash, but everybody did. So Klasky Csupo, they're fine. But let's have a different style on Nickelodeon. This was the start of it, it feels like.
Yeah, by 2003, it seemed like that's when Nickelodeon was getting out of the business of Klasky Csupo, and they had kind of opened the door to new people. And then some people also online joked about how that Nicktoons were first with original programming. The Cartoon Network was like, we need our own Nicktoons. So they sort of rip off Nicktoons development. And then 5 years later, Nickelodeon's like, we got to rip back off Cartoon Network because it shifted into a new thing for them. I think they saw that they used too much Klasky Csupo, and it hurt all their other stuff. Like they just didn't have many things that weren't that, or Rocco.
Yeah, and I think the series kind of got lost on Nickelodeon because when it aired, the first two seasons, it was in the middle of SpongeBob's peak in terms of popularity. It could not get hotter, so who cares about literally anything else on Nickelodeon in 2003? and 2004.
Well, yeah, and in 2003 and 4, when this was really airing, if I was going to watch an action show, I was watching anime or like maybe Justice League late at night. And I was, 21. I was like, I'm a grown-up boy who likes his Adult Swim, and I'm not going to watch baby things on Nick. I maybe would watch a baby thing on Cartoon Network. Nickelodeon was like, that's no man's land. I don't watch things on there.
I've outgrown slime. Yeah. Officially.
And also Nickelodeon. Cartoon Network felt like it was trying to still be welcoming to me as a brand, while Nickelodeon very much was not, which is not supposed to be. It's not for 21-year-old men.
You became the adult kid sneered at.
I knew better than those kids, though. But anyway, yes, from watching this, what impressed me, and it really impressed me, and then looking into the history of it also really excited me about this show, too.
Cool, let's talk about it.
So the story begins with the creator of the series, Rob Renzetti, a name that might be familiar to you guys, but act surprised when I tell you his background. He's an Illinois native who graduated as a film major from Columbia in Chicago before moving to Los Angeles and attending the evil Cal Arts.
Oh, no.
Not really. When I say that, if you don't know, there is a conspiracy theory that Cal Arts ruins all cartoons because they're this hive of scum and villainy that, like, they're the new SJWs destroying all cartoons.
Okay. You should hate them if you hate good cartoons because they all made cartoons better.
But anyway, so Renzetti went to Cal Arts, and after working there, he had his first professional jobs as an uncredited in-betweener on classic Batman the Animated Series episodes, The Day of the Samurai, and If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich?
Interesting. I noticed the font for this series, for the credits, is very Batman the Animated Series font. In fact, it might be the same public domain font they use.
I think it is, yeah. And
Batman condensed bold.
The shading on the backgrounds, it's like the world they build is very much the first season of Batman the Animated Series. Like, it's the same kind of faux futuristic, but also very Art Deco 30s kind of look. And I wonder if that goes all the way back to his work on Batman the Animated Series. And then, after working on those two episodes, he then moved back to Los Angeles to work for Hanna-Barbera as they were staffing up in the fall of 1992 for a show called Two Stupid Dogs, which he started as a storyboarder and quickly worked his way up to as director. So that's how skilled he was on Two Stupid Dogs. You joked recently it's actually a new show for Secret Squirrel, not Two Stupid Dogs.
Right. It's a backdoor pilot for Secret Squirrel. In fact, but actually, I mean, we know this, but it's the primordial ooze from which all cartoons were born.
Yeah, well, because Hanna-Barbera, 1992 was right when Hanna-Barbera got purchased by Turner. And so Ted Turner, he needed Hanna-Barbera to be a different thing than it was for the previous 30 years, which was not television animation, but a little more premium original for cable animation. First to air on TBS, and then for his soon-to-come Cartoon Network. So that's where Two Stupid Dogs aired. And obviously, Two Stupid Dogs owes a lot to Ren and Stimpy.
Oh, for sure.
Its existence, too. Though it's disgusting in different ways. And with a very, like you said, it was the first one that had the flat, deceptively flat UPA-style color palette, and same kind of joke structure too, but also had the ability to show action. As a friend of the show, Ian Jones-Cordy called it, Hanna-Barbanime is how he defines it.
I love that.
And yes, Rob Renzetti, working on that, he made a lot of friends who he would work with pretty much the rest of his career. And two of his best friends that he worked with as also collaborators were Gennady Tartakovsky and Craig McCracken, two of the top directors at Two Stupid Dogs.
Giants among men at Cartoon Network, or they were. Now they're giants among men everywhere.
Anywhere they want to be. I think one's still at Sony, the other's at Disney. But that's cutting to the end of this story. So, Two Stupid Dogs is starting out, and their big boss at Cartoon Network, Fred Seibert, decided he needed to create a project called What a Cartoon, which he stole from us.
Hey, wait a minute.
But it would oversee the creation of 48 original shorts that would offer opportunities to a diverse group of creators to pitch original series to Cartoon Network starting in 1993. In fact, his Fred Seibert's pitch to Turner and other executives, Ted Turner and other executives, was, yes, this will cost more than making the equivalent amount of animation of one series, but this is the pitching environment. This is all pilots. This is where we're going to find all our original content and make new stars that can creatively lead these shows. And a big part of that, too, was in a post-Ren and Stimpy world, they were going to trust the animators far more than they had the last 20 20 years of animation. Like Hanna-Barbera in particular was very much like, no, this is a very driven by writers production. Like Hanna-Barbera of the Scooby-Doo years had got it down to a craft of like, here's how you make it in the machine. You're not supposed to be creative. But that was not the new Cartoon Network Studios, as Hanna-Barbera was renamed. So Rob and many of his Two Stupid Dogs cohorts created a bunch of pitches for Seibert and his What a Cartoon project. And Rob Renzetti's big one was a very cute pilot. I don't know if you've seen it, Mina and the Count, which was totes adorbs.
I don't think I have.
It's
Maybe back in the day I did.
It reflects his love of classic designs and also kind of offbeat family dynamic that you'll see in My Life as a Teenage Robot as well. And also the UPA style of flat characters in a very interesting color paletted world. And it's about Vlad, basically Dracula befriends a little girl. And he's thought he was going to suck the blood out of a Nina Harker, who is an adult woman, but instead he finds Mina Harker and then he befriends this cute little girl. And so he's like her nighttime playtime buddy. And it's a very adorable short.
It reminds me a bit of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I'm looking at
yes.
pictures of it. It's a small girl who befriends a tall, evil character.
But it's more cute.
Yeah.
And also it's a lot of silence too. It's if you see how silent a lot of scenes in Teenage Robot are, that's also there in his Mina and the Count short. Unfortunately though, Mina and the Count would not be picked up, but Gennedy's Dexter's Lab would be, and Rob would join him along with many of his other people as one of the top boarders and directors on that show. And he and his friends would really start to hone their craft there, as they would on Craig McCracken's show that also got approved right after Dexter, Powerpuff Girls, where they really mastered the mix of UPA comedy action stylings that would serve Rob so well. So going into the 2000s, though, both those shows kind of end productions, and Rob Renzetti's kind of bouncing around from place to place. He's trying to sell his own shows, but in the meantime, he's working on the first season of Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. He directed a couple of Family Guys. He also worked on like House of Mouse, another What a Cartoon we did. Worked a ton on Samurai Jack, which you can totally see the influence of that in this show as well. Meanwhile, Fred Seibert had become an independent producer, leaving the Cartoon Network system. And he took basically the What a Cartoon concept to Nickelodeon in the late 90s and called it Oh Yeah Cartoons, with the same thing. If you guys want new series, I'll oversee these productions and get you new animators and we'll see what you can sell. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that comes out of Oh Yeah Cartoons. They produce even more over the years in two separate kind of programs, but basically it's all Oh Yeah Cartoons. They produce more shorts than even What a Cartoon did. And there were some hits and not hits there. Renzetti worked really hard with Seibert there again. First, he tried to retool Mina and the Count as a bigger ensemble kind of show. Renzetti owned the rights to it, so he could take it from Cartoon Network to Nick since they didn't pick it up. And they produced 4 more shorts. Nickelodeon had paid them to do 5, but Fred was like, you know what, let's produce these 4. I don't think they're taking it. We need to do one more short that's a brand new idea. We need some new pitches. Rob first came up with the idea of a girl dating a robot in high school who then morphed into a super powerful robot, but then he kind of combined those ideas of like, what if the cute girl was also the super powerful robot? Which also really fit with his kind of like girl power dynamic he learned from Powerpuff Girls, as opposed to the more male-led super action-y shows that you'd see on Nick and Cartoon Network. And so he dreamed of a super powerful robot girl who wanted an ordinary teenage life and the friction it would cause with the demands of her super heroics. And the first 7-minute short is called My Neighbor is a Teenage Robot, which would then be the clown show would be canceled for retooling. But they would retool it a bit, though. The first episode of My Life as a Teenage Robot basically just remakes the pilot with like 4 more minutes of content.
Okay.
The story is largely the same, and Rob Renzetti credits a lot of people for the look of really getting Teenage Robot, but his biggest collaborator on the credits is Alex Kerwin, an artist who worked with him on most of the Cartoon Network productions he did. He is the co-boarder on the pilot, and he says that he really helped them discover the aesthetic of the show, which was not just the same UPA style, though that definitely was there, but also like 1930s poster aesthetic. He really wanted that. And also with a bit of like Fleischer and Felix the Cat mixed into it.
Those classic Pac-Man eyes we see on the characters.
Yeah, all the Pac-Man eyes. Also, it just hit me now as I said Felix the Cat. at, Jenny's ability to do anything with her body is the bag of tricks.
That feels like it.
Yeah. And that look became much more pronounced after the pilot, as did the versatile colors and tones that Jenny can be any color a scene needs her to be. It's really impressive what they can do with her. So it'll be a couple of years after the pilot premiered that Nickelodeon decided to order a 26 shorts season that would be packaged as 13 half hours. And Renzetti would oversee the show as a creator and showrunner for the very first time in his career. He'd been doing it for over a decade and now finally had sold the show he had been dying to sell. And Nickelodeon was in an interesting place then because they were just trying new stuff. They knew SpongeBob worked, but they didn't really know what their other Nick shows were going to be. And also they're like, well, are we live action instead? What are we? They were kind of figuring it out. And so Renzetti staffed up with a huge amount of people who worked with him at Cartoon Network. So this really is a Cartoon Network show that got put on Nickelodeon. It's much more that to me. In the stories, Jenny would befriend a young man named Brad and his younger brother Tuck, who would help her integrate into the human world via a number of lessons punctuated by her mother/inventor's demands that she be a world-saving robot. Episodes would be her fighting a number of weird techno villains who were very humorously themed, also being annoyed by a mega nerd named Sheldon, which you didn't see him in these episodes.
No.
But I am 1000% sure he's a self-insert of all the dorky artists on the show who have a crush on Jenny.
I was unfortunately thinking of The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, you know what? They did a nerd named Sheldon first.
Yeah.
They did it first.
It's a classic nerd name.
And working on the show were many vets of both Nickelodeon shows and Cartoon Network who would go on to big things even after. We've got the Mr. Lawrence of Rocco and SpongeBob fame.
Really? Okay.
We've got Ron Hugart, who would work on Futurama, Iron Giant, and even the first run of games, Ren and Stimpy's.
Yeah.
We've got Robert Alvarez, a top director and boarder on Dexter, Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack. Randy Myers, or Randall Myers, as he's sometimes called, also a Powerpuff Girls, Iron Giant, Samurai Jack, Dexter vet. Amy Keating Rogers, also from Powerpuff, Dexter, Samurai Jack, and Johnny Bravo. She worked on that too.
Okay.
And Mike Bell from SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, who, fans of SpongeBob, will know that he played Santa Claus, the live-action Santa Claus, multiple times
Really?
in SpongeBob.
Okay, I was going to say, that reminds me, the other big show of this era on Nickelodeon was The Fairly Odd Parents.
Yes.
And did you know there is a trilogy of live-action Fairly Odd Parents movies?
I knew there was one.
There
didn't
are
know
three.
Holy
And Jason
shit.
Alexander plays Cosmo in every one of them.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
You can do better than that.
I
Jason,
think he's fine.
can't you?
I think he's doing fine.
I mean, yeah,
He doesn't need to act anymore as of 1998.
Yeah, that's true. The Fairly Odd Parents that's also, we skipped over that. That was the biggest hit of Oh Yeah Cartoons. Oh Yeah Cartoons only had really 3 shows that went to series directly, which for Nick, Chalk Zone, Fairly Odd Parents, and My Life as a Teenage Robot. And Fairly Odd Parents, easily the most successful of those 3.
I hope we do that show. I did enjoy the first season of that,
Yeah.
although the creator seems like a real dick.
Oh, Butch Hartman sucks. But he also was from that same. He worked on Two Stupid Dogs and all the other shows, just like those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, he super duper sucks. But yeah, no, I think someday we'll do Fairly Odd Parents. What's fun? Quick aside about Fairly Odd Parents. I saw people point out that when Butch Hartman, who is apparently like a hardcore Christian now, that's his. Which of course means he hates a lot of people and makes him feel bad, as Christians are known to do. When people point out that he's a born again Christian, they're like, they did every fetish on Fairly Odd Parents. So like, here's the inflation one. Here's the people had all these screenshots.
Oh my God.
But you got some explaining to do to your pastor with all these clips from.
There's got to be at least 3 Vor episodes on Fairly Odd Parents.
I'll also say about My Life as a Teenager. There actually are. I think Cosmo definitely gets pregnant. In the show.
Wow.
But I mean, also just a quick aside: if you're going to search for images of My Life as a Teenage Robot, safe search on.
Oh, no.
Safe search on.
Why?
A lot, not unlike the Sonic fans of our generation, a lot of people, came into their sexualities when watching this show.
I guess. I mean, I was going to say, what does nudity even look like in this style? But again, I could find out easily right here and now.
I didn't want to look too closely at it.
Yeah.
I don't. It seems like there's a difference of opinion of what that. I don't know how. Yeah,
Let's agree to disagree on what these breasts look like.
But I mean, you have Jenny, who is supposed to be a cute girl robot things. So, and also you have the character of Sheldon, who is such a fucking dork, who is in love with her like a nerd who jerks off to porn of her would be. That it's just it's a real cauldron of urges for this show. But back to the happy times of My Life's a Teenage Robot. The voice cast is a really good one, which has a lot of folks who they did have some of the regulars you hear in most TV animation, but they had some original or underused folks there too. Leading the way is Janice Kawaye, who is a Japanese American actress as Jenny, aka XJ9, and she is most famous for playing Guy on Captain Planet, our previous episode of this show. So you've been hearing a lot of Janice these days, and yes, Japanese American actress. She also did either Yumi or Ami in the Puffy Ami Yumi show. I'm sorry, I do not recall. Then we've got Candy Milo as Miss Wakeman.
Okay.
We've got Chad Dorick, who mainly does like live action stuff as Brad. Audrey Walaluski is Tuck, the Brad's little brother. And then coolest to me, also Cree Summer. That's like the most like standard casting they have. She plays one of the mean girls at school. One of my favorite casting bits is Metal Gear Solid Raiden's own Quentin Flynn.
Yeah.
He plays Sheldon, the big old nerd.
Okay, yeah, I like him.
And I saw a clip of like Sheldon in an anime con. I saw a clip of Quentin Flynn in an anime con of a fan asking like, "What is Janice Kawaii cool?" He's like, "Oh, she's great." And then he's just like, "That reminds me of my voices." And he just starts doing the Sheldon voice.
We've actually never met.
Quentin Flynn is a real ham, but I like that about him. And then there's also a ton of great guests. Leading the way is overarching series villain Eartha Kitt, playing Vexus, who she's in one of these episodes.
Oh, I thought that was her. Okay, yeah.
Though they put it kind of through a thing. It definitely sounds like her, but yeah.
Yeah, why would... Okay, yeah, that's why I didn't check the credits. I don't know why, but I was like, is that an Eartha Kitt impression? But like Eartha Kitt's voice is so great. I don't know why they put a filter over it. Man,
well, it's like the robot filter. Jenny's got a robot filter on her too.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think basically every robot voice has that voice over it. It's just stylistically what they're going for. But yeah, you're right. When they've got Eartha Kitt, why, it's it's an extra treatment to put on her.
Emperor's New Groove has got to be an upcoming What a Cartoon movie.
Oh yeah, that'll be on the list. Also, we've got big time vets like Billy West and Kevin Michael Richardson doing a number of voices in here. Like Billy West is the mayor of the town of Tremerton. And also Arlie Ermey is another of the guests too.
R.I.P. Lee Ermey.
I just said two dead people. It's sad. And the overseas animation was handled by Rough Draft, which I definitely get the feel they're using the same digital techniques that they had on Futurama a few years before this.
Yeah, I guess Futurama was just out of production when this show started.
Yeah,
in terms of of when the
so.
episodes were made, not aired.
Yeah. Also, boy, someday we're gonna do it, but you should watch. I don't know if you've seen it. I just dug it up when I was doing Oh Yeah Cartoons research. I had a vague memory that there was an Oh Yeah Cartoons that was so clearly the Futurama team.
Oh,
and
really? Okay.
It's called Fungus Among Us.
Okay.
Which it's all Rough Draft, directed, and the creator on it is Wesley Archer.
Oh.
And it has most of the voice cast of Futurama in John DiMaggio, Phil Lamar, Dave Herman doing the main voices in it.
It sounds like they were doing it after work.
Yes, yeah. It feels to me like it's Rough Draft pitching. Shit, we lost Futurama. If we can sell this pilot to Nickelodeon, we can keep this going. And it's really weird because the fungus is basically like a Ren and Stimpy mucus machine. So he's gross, but then every other character in it is more of a staid Futurama style character.
Okay.
It's really
I'll have to
interesting.
check it out. It's on YouTube,
up.
I bet, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, stylistically, My Life as a Teenage Robot, very similar to Rob's Cartoon Network work in that it maintained many of the creative partnerships he had worked on there, while also his artistic vision of action comedy that's UPA meets Fleischer. Also, Felix the Cat bit is clearly intentional because there's a hangout in the series called Mesmers, named after the creator of Felix the Cat, that even has a black and white cat as the logo of the place. So they're wearing that on their sleeves. But yeah, you're so right. It has the title cards, the credits. It feels so much like Batman, the animated series, the first run of it especially, as they modernize modernize the look of Batman in the DCAU more as it went along.
I was going to ask you more about the look. I don't feel a lot of anime influence. I feel like the anime influence I see is residual stuff from Powerpuff Girls and from the Fleischer stuff they're borrowing, because early anime people really liked Fleischer, and they did rip off the bigger eyes and things like that, and the way the eyes were drawn. So I feel like we're seeing the echoes of anime, but it's unintentional in this series. Like Tartovsky felt like a big weeb, obviously, doing a Speed Racer parody when that was a very cutting edge thing.
Yeah, I think the anime feel in here mainly is just in the action scenes. There's a lot of anime kind of posing when she's like, but also mixed with like Superman, kind of like woo, fly at you kind of things. Same with like the there's some hand-to-hand combat bits in other episodes that have more of the feel of Dragon Ball to it, but the anime percentage has been lowered to make more room for Fleischer and Felix in this.
Is that why this show was kind of a flop?
Well, yeah, I think
kids love that anime, especially now at this point in time in the early 2000s.
Well, when you can hear the intro on the OP, I love that they did original animation set to a song.
Yeah.
But that song is selling you tonally a very different show than you're getting. Like, it's not, there were women on the staff, but it's not a girly show.
No.
And it definitely doesn't fit with like iCarly or that show that starred Britney Spears' sister, or whatever that was called, or all that. Like, it really doesn't fit. It's just too weird. Definitely girls can enjoy this show, but it's hard to program it with the other types of female-led shows that were on Nickelodeon at the same time.
And maybe that intro also turned boys off.
Yeah. Oh, totally. You hear that song, you're like, oh, this is a girl show. Bleh. I'm a big tough boy. I don't watch this show with a
lady
girl.
robots.
Well, and it's a sad fact of animation then, and I hope less so now, but probably definitely now, is that it's hard to pitch an animated series like this one that stars a girl, because the TV execs or the toy manufacturers, all the people say, like, boys don't buy things that are girls. We're not sexist. It's just empirical fact. And so it's hard to sell these things. And the ratings, they didn't help the show. The ratings weren't good. So the first season of 26, or let's call it 13 half hours, ended in 2002. Nickelodeon did greenlight a second batch of 13 half hours, as well as a 4-segment or hour-long special called Escape from Cluster Prime.
Oh, really? Wow.
Which does function almost like a My Life's a Teenage Robot movie, where it's kind of her final showdown with Vexus. The Vexus would appear later, but it's an interesting episode. Well, I watched the whole thing. It's a really cool 48 minutes. It also gives a lot to the mom to do as well. And the interesting thing about that Escape from Cluster Prime 2 is that one of the keyboarders on it, who worked a lot on it, is the sadly recently passed away Chris Riccardi.
Oh, yes.
As well.
Actually, I saw he had one credit on this series, and I guess that was it. Yes.
Yeah. Which, that shows you how important he was to Renzetti, too, that when it's time for his big movie episode, he gets Riccardi on it.
I'm saying it right now. Next month, we will do an episode of something Chris Riccardi had a huge hand in. Because looking at his credits, he is one of these people, one of these very influential people like Renzetti, who worked on Everything You Love, but unfortunately, he never got his own show.
Yeah, and a sad fact with that was coming up, you knew this already, as did friend of the show Thad Komorowski, but like Chris Riccardi and his wife Lynn Naylor, they had so much influence on the art style and design of Ren and Stimpy that John K just fucking stole and was like, no, this is mine. I did it.
Yeah.
This is my art. This is how I draw girls. I don't know what Lynn is telling you about. I invented drawing girls this way. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, by 2005, Nickelodeon okayed the creation of a third batch of 13 episodes right as the second season was airing. So that was at the start of 2005. Renzetti then in October of 2005 on his now archived blog spot said that the show had been canceled and that the third season, which had been produced, would certainly air soon.
Sure. Why would they waste all that animation they spent millions on?
But they wouldn't be making more episodes. As he put it in October of 2005, quote, the executives love the show, but the ratings aren't good enough for them to give us more episodes. Now, even weirder, though, is that those last 13 episodes wouldn't air in America for 3 years. 3 years they wouldn't show it.
When was that, in 2009 or something like that?
It was 2000.
Wow.
It was the end of 2008 when it finally started airing.
And the show started in 2003.
Yes, yeah. And it's only because they wanted some original programming for their Nicktoons channel, which was Deep Cable. And I think that turned into Nick Splat, I believe. Though
I was a Nick Gas fan.
the nice things about the internet in 2006 is that the show did air overseas starting then. So if you were a big Teenage Robot fan, boy or girl, you could find it if you looked hard enough from those airings. So after the show was canceled, I get the feel that Renzetti had all the fun he wanted at Nickelodeon and left there. He did, or couldn't sell a show to them. So instead, he moved back to the loving arms of Cartoon Network, where he first worked key artistic lead on Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, the Craig McCracken series. He then worked on the one-season Symbionic Titan under Gendy Tartakovsky, which everybody says is a great show, and we should definitely do that one someday too. And then he actually shifted over to Disney because in the late 2000s, Disney was like, we need to get in on some of this stuff. They had the show Fish Hooks, and they got several people from that.
Oh, that was the start of Justin Roiland of Rick and Morty.
Yes, yeah. And
as a voice actor.
And also Justin Roiland's buddy, Alex Hirsch. He sold a show called Gravity Falls, which we'll definitely do someday.
Gotta watch that.
And Rob Renzetti was one of the key directors on that show. I think he was like the lead director of the series.
Really? Wow. Damn. Okay.
And then Renzetti, after that show ended, is now an executive producer on the currently airing Big City Greens, another Disney series. So that brings us up to date. There hasn't been any new My Life as a Teenage Robot stuff. There is definitely a dedicated fan base online, though I wouldn't say it's particularly big. I'd say the show's legacy is that it was a continuation of into the early 2000s of the craft that had been done in the What a Cartoon era of Cartoon Network. And I think it's like strong female protagonists and bold art style really inspired a lot of people from then on, especially when like there was some very, flatter looking animation in Nickelodeon at the same time.
Yeah. I'm trying to think though, and I could be missing a very obvious answer to this question, but is there anything now that has this style or looks like this? Did we just completely dismiss this style entirely?
Boy,
there's a lot of kids' cartoons I'm not aware of right now, but I'd like to think that somewhere this style is still persisting. It's stuck with us for so long.
I could definitely see shades of it in Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
But it is three-dimensional too. I think, man, there's got to be some of that out there, but I think like unless it's done by one of these people of that generation, like when Craig McCracken sells a new show or when Gennady sells a new thing, even then though he has to like do it in 3D. One thing I'm really sad is that we never got that Popeye film he wanted to make.
Oh man,
it would have been, because like these guys love this stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's been so many times they try to modernize Popeye and it just doesn't work. We're going to do, this is us just saying all the podcasts we want to do, but I really do want to do a classic Popeye one soon.
Yeah.
Because I love classic Popeye, but the tone of it has to be like ridiculous and violent. Postmodernism doesn't really work on Popeye. It kind of has to be set in the fake 30s for it to work. When they tried to put him into the 80s and like Popeye and Son, it just doesn't work.
There's something unsettling about that Robert Altman movie.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was like, this makes me feel itchy and weird. I don't care for this.
But Popeye is it's really hard to do today because I want him to have a pipe, but kids shouldn't smoke pipes.
Yeah.
But the tattoos, I'm like, come on, let him have his bar.
Kids are going to vape anyways. Popeye should vape.
Well, when I was a kid, they put Popeye, he still had his pipe in his mouth, but he had to have scenes where he's like, I just like it for affectation. I just blow steam out of it. I don't smoke.
Or like bubbles.
Yeah. They should just have him say, like, look, I have an oral fixation. Give me a break ski. Rob Renzetti's entire career is really amazing. I had not looked as closely at it because this is the only show he created that really aired, like that got a real chance. He was kind of usually like second or third from the top on a lot of my favorite cartoons from different eras, but especially like I love Gravity Falls so much. Like, and when we do a Gravity Falls episode, I kind of you have to watch the whole series. Because it's a whole rich tapestry. That'll be in the future, but I guess that's all the history on My Life as a Teenage Robot. Why don't we take a quick break? And when we come back, we'll go through Sibling, Tsunami, and Tradeshow, Showdown.
And now, the special first look at my life as a teenage robot. It's Spotlight on Nickelodeon. XJ9,
Bring it on.
a.k.a. Jenny. Meet Jenny. She's a robot. A teenage robot.
It's about an extraordinary character who's just trying to fit in and be ordinary.
XJ9. Can't you call me Jenny? Rocket power, cat butt superhero!
Coming August 1st to the only network for brand new Nicktoons, Nickelodeon.
Take a moment from skating down at the mall to listen to this ad break with me, Henry Gilbert.
Hey, it's your fellow host, middle-aged nobot, Bob Mackey.
And thanks so much for listening to this week's What a Cartoon podcast. I'm sure you're a regular listener on the free feed, but you could do so much more than that. You could really upgrade, not unlike a robot would.
They do that often, Henry. In fact, if you go to patreon.com/TalkingSimpsons and sign up at the $5 level for the low cost of $5 a month, you'll have access to, I will say, 100 plus podcasts that you've never heard as of this moment. Things like exclusive series like Talking Futurama, Talking Critic, and the currently unraveling Talking of the Hill, our entire Talking Simpsons treatment of the first season of King of the Hill. Also on top of that, we have interviews, end of season wrap-ups, deleted scene specials, and so much more is happening there that is exclusive to patrons.
And if you just sign up at the $5 and up level, you'll get your own RSS feed. You don't even need to listen to it on Patreon or through their app. You can get it on all the places you get your podcast. It's an easy RSS feed to just copy and paste into your feeds. That's just the beginning, though. If you really love us doing What a Cartoon and talking about a different animated series each week, what if we did a movie instead?
I like the idea. In fact, we've done it.
Yeah.
At the $10 tier, we have one mega-sized podcast a month for our $10 and up patrons. It's called the What a Cartoon Movie Podcast, and every month we give one movie our full in-depth treatment that patrons vote on. So far, we have done things like Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, Kiki's Delivery Service, Akira, a Goofy movie, Secret of Nim, and the newest one as of this recording is Into the Spider-Verse, 3 hours and 20 minutes of Spidey chat, and we go into the history of Spider-Man, the movie, and we do a scene-by-scene, play-by-play discussion of the movie with clips and everything you've come to expect from us.
That's 18 hours of podcasts already, and each month you'll get another 3-hour plus dissertation on a different animated feature film. The current one, at the time of this recording, is being chosen. I'm sure whatever it is, you're going to love it, and you'll hear it by the end of this month. Only, though, if you're a $10 up patron. So please consider joining the Talking Simpsons Network. Become a subscriber at patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. Now let's morph back into our robot selves and give a listen to the rest of this episode.
Now back to more of my life as a teenage robot, right here on Nickelodeon.
5 o'clock, get a call to go blading at the skate park down by the mall. But my mom says I gotta prevent hostile aliens from annihilating us all. With the strength of 1,070 men, I guess I really shouldn't complain. Still, I wish I could go for a walk without rusting in the rain. It's enough to drum my brain. So welcome to my life as a teenage robot. The story of my life as a teenage robot. My teenage robot life.
So we start off with Sibling Tsunami from the 8th episode of the first season. That intro song, man, it's just it's great how it's set to the song. It definitely feels like they had a 30-second song and then they animated and boarded to it, even like in beat with the music. Which
I like it a lot.
Good. But man, the song is just like totally not what this show is, though.
Yeah, it's like
Jenny isn't hip. Nobody in the show is hip. They all dress like 800 years ago.
they make you think it's going to be like a hip and modern high school comedy
Yeah.
about like girl problems or something. I don't know.
Very rarely on this show, from what I've watched, do people rollerblade or go to the mall.
The mall. There was nary a mall.
They go to a malt shop much more often than they go to the mall.
They were stuck in like the 30s in this series.
Yes, yeah. Though somebody pointed out there's a gag in this was one of the few trivia bits on IMDb, that there's a joke that Super Bowl 100 happened, which would mean that the show takes place like 50 years from now.
Oh, wow.
Which makes it even more of the retro modernist future kind of thing.
Oh, no wonder.
Ultra modern.
Just like Futurama.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it pulls pulls from, I mean, that's why Rough Draft is perfect for this. Like, it's pulling from a very similar place. In Sibling Tsunami, the first one, we get the title card, very Batman the Animated Series feeling to that title card. Mary Hanley was the border writer of this episode.
Yeah. I want to point out immediately that this is the obvious thing that even you know, Henry. This is a very board-driven show, just like all the other things we mentioned. If you don't know what that means at home, it means the story was not written on a page and handed to an artist. It was written by an artist with pictures. And I can tell immediately now that I study these cartoons so closely how a board-driven show differs from a written show, not just in terms of art, but in terms of the pacing and structure of stories, where in both the cartoons we're doing today, the structure is, let's introduce a number of characters with one trait. They do the thing, and then later that thing is done in a different context.
Yes,
it's like they're setting up gags. It's like it's all based on how we can make gags out of these premises.
You are very right. Yeah, this is very gag driven in the Termite Terrace style too. Of just like we got the gags we're doing with all these robots, and we're going to use them twice.
Yeah,
like, which is also very economical design wise too.
And in this episode, it's like here are 8 robots. They all have one annoying trait, and then later, after we do all the jokes about how those annoying traits ruin the day, every one of those annoying traits will help save the day. So it is all very, very gag-based and coming from a artist's mind, not necessarily a writer's mind.
Well, and Renzetti mentioned in an interview the process, but it's very much the board-driven process we know. We learned about this too from the guys from Regular Show. We had them on, that they start with an outline, like they decide what the plot of the episode is going to be, and they get that approved just an outline stage. Then they hand it to the borders to go along that outline, but like they don't really write dialogue beforehand, and they leave it up to the trusted borders/storytellers to even create like dialogue and build it out. And that's really, I mean, that's a type of trust that the folks who worked on Real Ghostbusters did not have for the people doing the art, or The Simpsons for that matter. They don't.
Homer enters from the left, damn it, the left.
It's something I really like about our friends of the show at OKKO. They credit it, as do many others now, of like border writer. Like people need to know that the person who would be called a writer on another show is just called a storyboarder there. And I think that's something too that like Josh Weinstein learned. He mentioned that one of his best writers on Disenchantment, Shion Takeuchi, who just sold a show to Netflix, he is like, wow, you came through Cal Arts. You're an artist first, but also an incredibly talented writer. And I think people overlook because you're a boarder. It's like, oh, you're a doodler then. You're not a person jamming away at the keyboards hard like
I
me.
went to Harvard.
I wonder if it really sticks in the craw of the Simpsons writers that they didn't win Oscars, but Brad Bird did.
Man, I never thought of that.
But yes, the episode Sibling Tsunami begins with a lovely cartoon picnic basket scene. I love stuff in a picnic basket. It's always cartoon food in a picnic basket always looks delicious to me.
I've never picnicked with a basket because I think that those cartoons were made before cooler technology happened. So coolers are our modern baskets. Think about that. It's true.
Yeah. Oh man. That just doesn't sound as good coming out of Yogi Bear's mouth. It's
true.
As Brad, I keep wanting to call him Chad because the actor's name is Chad, but the character is Brad. As Brad and Tuck are packing away, Jenny arrives outside the window, which is why she sounds different in this. If you're not seeing it visually, you don't know she's outside the window, so that's why Jenny's a little muffled in this bit here.
Medicine ball, check.
Hi, Tuck.
Sled, check.
Just vanquished the giant mechanical spider that was terrorizing the town.
Snow skis, check.
Want to see the head? So, Johnny, how do you like school? Closed.
Croquet set.
Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Brad. What's up with Tuck?
The annual brother-sister picnic is this afternoon. Every year it's the same thing. We spend 2 days packing a picnic basket, then Tuck stuffs himself with free corn dogs till he passes out. I'd rather have my teeth drilled than slog through another big bro, little bro event.
You can't mean that. You should be grateful to have a brother. You'll never know how lonely it is being an only.
That of pickled monkfish?
I could handle lonely.
I don't think this Tuck and Brad thing even pays off really in the episode.
Not really. It's just for them to be the humans who are threatened like for you to feel something for the people in danger more than just a regular old bystanders. I think too, like when Sheldon gets introduced later, you get the real feel that they're like, you know what? We should have made Sheldon the human boy she hangs out with the most, not Chad, but Brad. But they're kind of stuck with him. I think too, like the creators of the shows, they're nerdy artists. They don't see see themselves as average, like Archie Andrews teen with his annoying kid brother. Also, it's like Tuck is too annoying. I don't like Tuck, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
It kind of sucks. As he's supposed to. He's supposed to be an annoying kid.
He's annoying in a too realistic way.
I mean, that also feels like a very executive driven or just pitch type thing of, we want this to be a teenage show to appeal to our tween to teen audience, but we also need a little kid there so the little kids can still feel they have an entry point into the show. I do really like the posing of them indoors and her outdoors still having a conversation with them. And also the kind of like grotesquerie of her moving the decapitated robot head to talk like a puppet.
It reminded me of Wingy and Bonesy.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny. Jenny has fun. And also it's a fun subversion that off screen she already had the amazing adventure that could be the plot of the episode of fighting a bunch of robot spiders. Now it's time for a picnic talk instead. As somebody with siblings, I'm more on Brad's side. You know, I like being lonely now.
I mean, biologically and in the actual world, they get the best resources. Only children.
Yes,
I'm so envious of them.
But my brother, I mean, this every time there's brother stuff, it does remind me, like, I talk to my brother once a year. I probably should call him more. Oh well, and I just move on. And so Jenny's all sad that she doesn't have any siblings of her own. There's some really cute animation of her getting home and seeing the note from Nora Wakeman. She's not Dr. Wakeman. Nobody calls her doctor. She's Miss Wakeman. So she doesn't have a PhD, but she can build the best robots in the world. I think it's really cute animation of her, like, in a very kid or even not kid, like a movie. In the movie, this would be the sad guy at home, like, I'm all alone, open the beer, toast, glug, glug, glug. Really cool posing there.
The dark, empty apartment.
As she's toasting to the gigulator. And then also it feels like a very like cool guy walking down with it on your shoulder with one hand, a beer in the other hand, except it's oil, not beer. And there's also a very funny line of her saying, I never noticed that door before.
Yeah.
Like, Jenny is 5 years old and she somehow she did not notice that.
Discovering the world still.
And when she opens the door, great design on all the siblings right from the silhouettes. Like you can tell all of them immediately just from panning over the silhouettes.
Yeah, they're all very different.
Mm-hmm. The shining light on Jenny as her face smiles, like that's really good animation too. That there's no sound for her. There's a lot of silence in this episode. And so then we go to the Brother and Sisters Day picnic, which, you know, free corn dogs. I'll hang out there all day, man. Free corn dogs.
Yeah, it's a Brother and Sisters Day, but it's two brothers here. I thought they'd comment on that too. Like he'd have to wear a wig or something funny like that.
Yeah, well, I guess it means it's welcome to all siblings, but they just call it, if you have sisters, bring sisters. If you have brothers, bring brothers. And it's also a very good establishing shot at the beginning of it that it starts with the dam and then pans down to everybody to set up the danger. Then Tuck is pretty damn strong with that shuttlecock when they're playing badminton. I really got a feel of a Samurai Jack style joke with him, the badminton flying and then cutting to people flying, cut, fly, cut. Like so much silence for so long.
I have never successfully played badminton. Mm-hmm. It sucks. It's a
no
terrible
fun.
Sport. Yeah. The thing never goes where you want it to. It's mainly a sport about bending over to pick something up. That's all it is.
And you get the fun of saying shuttlecock, and then it's all downhill from there.
I've said it 3 times. I'm already done.
No, it's all just so like floppy. It's just play tennis. I mean, I guess it's slower than tennis. It's more cash, I guess. That's what's fun about it. Like racquetball's too intense, just like wham, wham. That's too much for me. If you told me I had to play that or badminton, I'd rather play that. It's a very Samurai Jack style thing too, of the cute kids who I feel like are drawn to look like Love Is. Even
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I got a real Love Is feel from them. The unnamed cute children.
Thankfully, they have clothes on, and
they're
not married, as far as I know.
And on first sight, we get to see XJ8. Who catches it and crushes it in their hand, and it's just a giant imposing force over the cute little kids.
The Crushinator.
It's really, you're right, it is the Crushinator. And then also another great animation touch in here is when first you just see XJ8, and then Jenny comes out from behind her, and then the rest of the sisters unfurl from them, like almost like a
paper
nesting
dolls.
doll. Yeah. There's a lot of Cyrillic Russian touches to this too. That's another 2 of my favorite episodes I watched. One was a mouse that one of Wakeman's test mice has now created a communist group that is trying to overthrow her, and he looks like a Russian Mickey Mouse. And
oh, that's great.
They even have a joke. He's like, our hands have turned horrible and huge and white. and then there's another really great one where they go to Disneyland or Wisleyland.
Nice.
They ride Small World. And when she's on it, she's like, you've enslaved all these robots. This is horrible. And so she then sees all the robots at Disneyland and takes down the owner of it and says like, rise up, robots.
That's a good premise for a robot show.
Yeah.
I like that.
If I didn't leave it up to Shy Ranger, I honestly would have done that one over one of these. But these are both good episodes.
Both enjoyable.
I'm not saying. But anyway, yes, the family unfurls and we get to meet the siblings. Let's hear the first half of those.
Sporting mishap averted. Please return to your carefree frolic.
Jenny?
Hey guys, I'd like you to meet my sisters.
But we thought you were an only child.
Me too. Guess Mom was holding out on me. This little sweetie is XJ1. Somebody needs her oil changed. And here's XJ2. We have to find a cure for those hiccups.
You might want to make that a priority.
Come here, XJ3. Don't be shy.
The first three are different stages of childhood.
Yeah. After they got through those, I was like, well, what else can you do? I was curious, like, is there going to be an old robot?
Then the rest are the ones who can speak, who are just, you know what? You're right. There isn't a full, the theming doesn't go all the way through because you start with baby, terrible to toddler, and then you go to just like, well, no, now it's the one who talks too much, the one who, it's different ways of, like it's mania, it's clean freak, it's
personality types.
Yeah, personality types. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And when we meet the second group of them, I gotta say, I love Kath Soucie. I think she's great, but it's just really distracting to me to hear her here, especially like two of her voices are just so Rugrats voices. Like they're just literally the Phil and Lil's mom.
Yeah, just the brash Midwestern mom.
It takes me out of it a little bit. Though this is a Captain Planet reuniting here because Kath Soucie was Linka and Janice was Guy, and so they're back together.
I didn't even think of that.
What fun to hear. Here, let's hear the Captain Planet voices back together again.
There's no excuse for untidiness. Thanks, XJ4.
Hi, I'm XJ5. Nice to meet you. Oh, you smell kind of funny, but then again, all you humans do. Oh, hey, looky, a munchkin. You smell a little funny. I understand you organic beings enjoy a good joke.
Hi. You must be XJ6.
Don't patronize me. You think XJ9 is cuter than me, don't you? Don't bother answering. It's written all over your face. Where?
I guess no one's gonna introduce me. I'm worthless.
You're not worthless, XJ7. Why, melted down, you easily fetch $20 at the recycling plant.
And this is XJ8. She's the closest to me in age, but she's still my little sister.
It would appear that I am larger than you, therefore I am the bigger sister and you are the little sister, the puny, scrawny, inferior.
Yeah, okay, really. She looks up to me.
Actually, since I am taller than you.
Attention, picnickers. The games are about to begin.
Come on, girls, let's have some fun. Sibling style.
I did like the Eora one most of all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but now, again, they establish all the traits. Now you see how they all play out through picnic fun.
Yeah, most of these episodes are patterned with Jenny tries to do a normal thing that she thinks will work out socially. It all falls apart, but then she realizes that she can do it her own way and have even more fun instead of being normal.
And the Mario Brothers are here later.
Yes.
I was not expecting that.
That probably took you by surprise. Yes.
Yeah, both episodes we did had some real funny Italian stereotypes for no reason.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. I do enjoy that very outdated character.
It's something you can still do today, though.
Yeah.
When we play the clips later, they say a word I don't think you're not supposed. I think you're supposed to not say anymore.
That's true.
But, it was different time.
Yeah, it's more of a UK thing, but still, I think we avoid that in speech and things now.
But we'll get to that. I really like the acting on XJ6 that she has to come off as like jealous and jerky, but can only act with one hand. Like she has 3 legs and 1 arm, so she has to act like never mind with just like 1 arm to act it out. And I mean, I like XJ7 a lot, though she's basically Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's true. true. Yeah. I think they make a life, the universe, and everything joke in one of these episodes.
Yeah, I think actually that's for her too. In
Okay.
This, yeah.
Oh, you're right. Okay. But also, so the surly teen robot, I took a lot of notes for this episode. Does she actually do anything else in this episode?
Not
I don't think she
really.
gets any gags.
No, she's just part of the
wall.
Yeah, she's part of the wall. That's really, I think, all she does. It's a really cool shot too of when Jenny says sibling style. Like they have a lot of great throughout the whole series, just straight on shots of Jenny, only Jenny, and then with different coloring like splashes behind her that make the backgrounds like really pop just for an expression instead of keeping the backgrounds consistent. I really like how expressive that can be. And I also love XJ3, I think is my favorite because it gets torn to bits all the time and it has no reaction.
Yeah, it just keeps falling apart.
Just like rip.
Somehow rebuilding itself.
There's obviously no way Jenny would lose that, but fortunately she tore X3 apart in the three-legged race.
Yeah.
So can't win there. And then XJ5 is bothering an old man, which that's a very UPA design on that old man. That she's just being really shitty too. And yes, I think in this next clip here is when XJ7 is pretty much just saying lines Marvin says in Hitchhiker's Guide.
You people are filthy. Have some self-respect. Tidy yourselves up.
So you're pretty darn old for a human. Are those nose hairs?
XJ5, you should leave that man.
Oh, Chatterbox, wait your turn. Can't you see I'm having a conversation with this gentleman? Great. Now you scared him off. Hey, Pops, wait up! So, how old are you in, say, dog years?
Hey, XJ7. What's got you down?
Oh, life, the universe, everything.
Yeah.
What we both need is a good square dance.
Great. A crowd of humans laughing at my awkward shuffling. That'll cheer me up.
I mean, they wear their inspirations on the sleeves just in case. That was very much in Dexter as well. Or Powerpuff Girls. If they were going to make a reference to a film or TV series, they almost say the title out loud.
Yeah. I mean, it is a kid's show.
Yeah. I mean, remember in Powerpuff Girls, for like one shot, Blossom became Cartman for it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Or also, I just shared the picture of it, but people noted it at the time. In the big fight between like Princess and Blossom, she just does the move the head and miss the laser thing that's straight from a Majin Buu fight scene in DBZ as well, which is badass. When I saw that as a kid, I was like, or as a teen, I thought these guys actually give a shit about anime. Like
they like anime, but they can't tell anyone, just like me.
Well, they can't. I mean, they were growing up. Their teachers were like, the only animation is American and maybe European. You can't look to anything else. Japanese animation is bullshit. You can't take inspiration from it. I think now, thanks to this Renzetti's generation, the generation that came after it for Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, they could just be like, no, we like anime. It's just anime.
It's fun to still run into people who think, yeah, we all make fun of anime and anime is bad, right? It's like, no, we've moved on.
Yeah,
you're old.
Get with the program, Grandpa. Like XJ5 is screaming at that old man. Get with the program. The square dancing is pretty fun. I like the animation on like her somehow square dancing with a tire tread feet of 7.
It's a very multicultural square dance too.
Yeah, every human design in this show is so amazing. They're just like these fat, squat little things.
Everything is like a different weird shape.
I love it, and most of them, as you said, have the Pac-Man eyes too. And I also love the gag of like XJ2 almost kills all those people there and just like shoots through their heads. Meanwhile, then XJ1 just barfs on everybody. Like, but it's a dumb baby. We get it. You dumb babies. They have one last test of like, can you at least do this piñata correctly? They could not.
So what's the bright side of this?
Well, at least we're still clean. What now? XJ8, what are you doing?
This human was blindfolded and was using a stick-type weapon to vandalize a colorful paper pig.
It's a game, XJ8. It's a piñata. It's filled with candy, and the kids try to break it open.
Candy? What is this candy of which you speak?
Okay, let me show you. We blindfold you, then we give you a stick. Now, see if you can break the piñata. Ouch! What's the matter with you?
Boy, between this and Talking in the Hill, there's been a lot of piñata humor on our network lately.
I love that the kids can't They want that candy. Like, we know it's on fire, but I gotta go reach into that pile of fiery candy.
It just all became caramel, right?
That's, with paper mixed in, papery caramel.
Sure. Fiber.
In that scene there, I really got a feel of Ed 209 in XJ8 there. Of like, it's just like, you were vandalizing the property. That it shoots lasers from its eyes through the blindfold was so funny too. And the barbecue explosion, I like that also. But Jenny isn't liking any of this, and she learns an important lesson about siblings after telling them all off.
What's wrong, sis?
What's wrong? I thought it would be great to have sisters, but you guys are terrible. You're a thug, and you're a neat freak. You're a mope, and you're just destructive. You never shut up, and you...
It's a child.
Forget it. You're on your own. I'm back to being an only robot.
Jenny, I hate to break this to you, but brothers and sisters are supposed to embarrass you and drive you crazy. It's like their job.
That's right, Jenny.
Yeah, the moral of this episode is brothers and sisters are annoying.
Yes, yeah. But hey, you gotta love them or something. I don't know.
Sure. Until you're old enough to leave.
I feel like that's what Brad is going to do once he gets old enough. With Tuck with his with the watermelon. I do like the little gag of him choking on the seeds, and then spitting it out, and then going back straight to it.
I wanted him to choke again just to show how stupid he is.
I wonder if his seed spitting thing was another Mario reference. It really did remind me of Yoshi Island.
The way he spits out seeds like a machine gun reminds me of Yoshi's Island. It is, which is a Mario game.
Yes,
I won't take any other answer. Sorry.
You're going to step off on that, listeners, if you're going to try to tell us it's not a Mario game. I don't care. I don't care who you are. It is. Yes, speaking of the Mario Brothers, we've got ourselves the Mad Hammer Brothers in their first appearance here. This is something, too, I was kind of confused by in my life as a teenage robot a little in the episodes I watched of like, what did it want to be? Because the Powerpuff Girls are clearly simply superheroes. But in the pilot, she faces alien robots and other robots. She's a person who fights other robots. But then other episodes like this one are patterned by villains who fit to the theme, human villains who fit to the episode's theme show up. Like in the first Sheldon episode, the nerd guy is in love with her, and everybody's joking like, Jenny's got a boyfriend. And then she says, you are not my boyfriend. You're not my anything. And then the villains in it are basically a bunch of incel jerks who are just like, oh, I'm sad my girlfriend broke up with me. Like and the plot of them trying to kill Jenny feels even more like woman hating.
I wasn't expecting so much villain-based stories in this, I guess, based on the opening. But I guess the opening, does that feature all the villains in it? I don't remember.
No, she just fights robots. Robots are invading and she fights a giant robot. There's aliens inside, but they aren't a themed supervillain. Like, these are like Darkwing Duck villains that she faces on the show, very much so. And in fact, they even do a Villains League episode later that includes the Mad Hammer Brothers.
It can't be. It is. Mad Hammer Brothers.
I still don't see why we kind of blow up the royal ring.
Because everyone's here, Spaz.
You're the spaz.
No, you are.
You stink like a monkey butt.
You stink like an elephant butt.
You stink like a spaz butt.
I hate to butt in, but I think it's time for this to end.
Not yet, robot girl.
Yeah, Spaz.
Oh no, they're gonna split the dam. Okay, you two, let's simmer down and make nice.
You're too late, Spaz bot.
Too late? Oh no! Water pressure too strong. Can't hold it back alone.
You're not alone. Your sisters are here to help. XJ1, grease the slice.
I do like recasting Mario and Luigi as Hammer Brothers.
Yeah. And then you hear their jump sound. Their jump sound is even the video game.
I like how their hammers are also sort of like grappling hooks, too.
They don't hammer many things. They more jackhammer stuff. They should be called the Jackhammer Brothers. But
don't give the real Hammer Brothers any ideas. They're tough. They're too hard to begin with.
And the looks of them are so much like they're the Wario. They're more disgusting than Wario. They're just misshapen monster men. Just as we were were hearing about how siblings are mean to each other. Here are these siblings being mean to each other, but also united in a goal.
You know what? I didn't connect that at all until now. Like, oh yeah, this episode is about brothers.
Yeah.
It's like, I think they just disrupt the entire episode. They just show up, and I'm like, oh, it's about this now. But yeah, they are brothers. It does fit with the theme.
Yeah, well, you're kind of distracted from them being brothers as being Mario parodies. It's just it distracts you from everything. You're like, wait, I'm in a Mario parody now? What's going on? It kind of erases your memory of the siblings very briefly. There's also another of the great moments of Jenny being able to do basically anything. Mm-hmm. Her eyes becoming binoculars.
I like that.
There's so many great gags about her powers. I really love all of her power gags.
And even when the extendo goggles or whatever, the drawing is still very flat looking.
Yes, yeah.
I like how they keep it in that style.
In the second appearance of the Hammer Brothers episode, there's a very disturbing scene where she's trapped in like clay, but her mouth is sticking out, like her eyes and mouth are sticking out of it, and she realizes like, oh wait, I know how to escape, and she kind of recesses into her body, and then her skeleton comes out of it.
That's
and
weird.
It's really creepy looking.
So there's a robot skeleton underneath her robot body, like a Terminator style thing?
Yeah, actually, it's a very T100, 800 type model. And yeah, they say quote unquote spaz a lot. I think that's a word you don't say now. I know it's a big, horrible word to British people for sure, which probably hurt this in the international airings. I wonder if they changed. I couldn't find proof that they changed it for UK airings or not.
Yeah, maybe they just bleeped it out or... we don't need to see this episode. How about that?
No. The siblings who got told off are back already to help Jenny save the day. They all work together and place the V-shaped rock or chunk of the dam back to where it was to stop the water from coming out. And their multiple different power sets are all useful together. Even the toddler just gives a thumbs up. Like, yep, it works.
I don't think the surly teenage robot does anything, though.
Yeah.
Does she do anything in that scene?
No, I know. I think she just appears at the top of the dam when it's over.
Because I was checking, I want to make sure they do everything with every robot's trade. I was like, they didn't do anything with that robot.
Yeah, no, she just sucks. I mean, jealous teens, they all just suck and are pretty useless. But seemingly they save the day, but not if the Hammer Brothers have anything to do with it.
Wow, we did it! You guys saved me! And after all the rotten stuff I said.
That's what sisters are for.
Oil is thicker than water, but so much harder to clean out of a carpet.
A few harsh words aren't gonna break up the XJs.
That's right. Ain't nothing gonna tear us apart.
We had to blow this precious moment.
But we got 2 tons of TNT that'll tear you apart quite nicely. Spazzes.
Hey, the dam's leaking.
Come on, folks. Let's not let a little water ruin our picnic. This is a great chance for some mud wrestling.
Oh no! What can we do?
Nothing. We're doomed.
Everyone, robo wall!
The transformations are all really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And like behind the characters are just these very impressionistic backgrounds of, elements of that character that you see behind them.
It's and the limited color palette works really well in this bit too. I like the gag of knee of like shin high water, and then they're like, oh, I guess that's all this water's gonna do. No, it is not. And technically, they're all dead, but this is a cartoon, so
those Mario Brothers should have started with the dynamite. I think much better idea.
And they even, as brothers, they pull the plunger together too, so they even do that. Though shouldn't it be a POW block, not just TNT? I mean, they're not fully committed to it. Maybe they were also legally worried.
You can copyright that POW block.
That's true. Yeah, and all their transformations are great because the shapes of them are very random at first, but they all come together perfectly to leave a little hole for Jenny in there. To get in.
It's very stylishly done. Took a lot of thinking to plan that out, I bet.
Yeah, design wise, it's amazing. And also the random shapes they take about how they can just unfurl into things there's no way they were built to do.
Yeah.
Really reminds me of Dexter's Lab things transforming as well. They leave a little space for Jenny so she can save the day. They create the wall, though. I don't know why they get to go home later.
Yeah, they should just be there forever until the dam is replaced.
But that would get in the way of the happy ending of this episode. Though Mom first isn't so happy.
For heaven's sake, can't I even run the radio shed without pandemonium breaking loose? You should never have reactivated them, XJ9. XJ1 through 8 are failed experiments. They're unfinished prototypes.
They're heroes. And more importantly, they're my sisters.
Well, you and your sisters have had your fun. Now they need to go back to sleep.
Great. They can bunk in with me.
That's not what I meant.
Please, Mom. Please, 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 please.
All right, but just tonight.
You hear that, girls? Sleep! Good night, XJ4. Good night, Jenny. Good night, XJ8.
Good night, Jenny.
Good night, XJ5.
Good night, Jenny.
Good night, XJ5.
Good night, XJ6.
Good night, XJ8.
Good night, XJ2.
Good night, XJ7.
Good night, Jenny. Good night, XJ1.
Good night, XJ.
Good night, XJs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 9. And good night, XJ10.
What?
Kidding. Just kidding.
It's funny that this and both this and Captain Planet end with a scene of a character's laughing at another character.
That's right. Yeah.
I did want to point out though, because no one should know this, and please forget about it as soon as I tell you that anytime there is a tedious scene of characters saying goodnight to each other, it's a parody of the Waltons.
Ah, yes, that's right.
It should be more like the Waltons and less like the Simpsons. That's all you need to know. Forget about it immediately.
I forgot all about the Goodnight John Boy stuff, but yeah, I mean,
my mom would do that.
My mom
as a
did
joke
it too. Yeah. Sometimes she'd also say bedtime for Bonzo. Which the Ronald Reagan monkey movie, which she saw the day I was born. It was playing on TV, so
you're almost named Bonzo Gilbert.
Nora Wakeman is a really interesting character. I can't place that voice. Please, listeners, tell me what that classic actor is that she's doing.
It feels like someone from a movie from the 30s, or like a character actress who started in radio and played just the high society type.
Yeah, just the the nine. It's very proper.
Yeah.
I also like with her that she comes off like she's a toughie, but then she eventually goes, oh, fine, all right. Like she is a tough mom, but she's also fair and nice. She doesn't treat. The next episode's really about that, but Wakeman has problems treating her like a independent person and like a creation she made. And I think too she really comes off like she is Dexter. She's a Dexter type too in stature, and she even has like an underground lab, though they don't call it a lab,
and a weird accent.
Yes, also that, and though I like her banana nose, like
that is
really
nice.
funny.
It's a fun design.
In the big movie, during a fight scene, when you think she's going to butt somebody, she just pokes them in the eye with her nose. It's very funny.
That. I need to see this now.
And the bed dropping down is really funny. It's a funny way to end it. And also, yes, there is no XJ10. No episode did they make a new sibling that they called XJ10. So hey, if they ever do a reboot, I guess they could save it for that. But I
don't think it's going to happen.
Nickelodeon's got trouble enough with the reboots they did animate that seemingly are not going to be released. The last thing I'll say about this one is that the siblings do though make future appearances, kind of cameos and one-offs. The funniest one is in the movie Escape from the Cluster, where the mom and Sheldon walk by all the siblings in ice. And Sheldon's like, oh, you could reactivate them. They can help. And she's like, no, that's not what we're doing. Just this denial of plot.
It'd be a waste if you only saw those designs once, because they made like 8 new characters for this episode.
Again, my favorite XJ7 with her permanent frown. I just love, of course I like the depressed robot the most, but she's very funny. Again, it is Marvin, but I love Marvin, so nothing wrong with that. All right, the second episode, Tradeshow Showdown. Kind of a clever title, kind of. And this
fun to say.
This one is boarded by Bernie Peterson and co-directed by Ron Hugart, who is fresh off of Iron a Giant for this one.
Wow.
Which you can really feel in this episode, I think. Like, there's a lot of Iron Giant feel to it here. I think Wakeman is really great in this episode. I love seeing her warm up to Jenny. Those are some of my favorite scenes of just her, respecting the autonomy of her automaton.
Of her property.
And, I also think for folks who, I don't know if this was the intention, but, if you're say not straight, or if you're trans or any of these things, like Jenny trying to get her mom to respect her like that, of saying like, no, my name is this, I am this, don't lie about me to my friends. You can also I think you can find that in here too. I don't know how intentional it is.
Respecting identity, yeah.
Yeah, which that can extend to lots of things. Their relationship at the start of this year is a very teen mom scenario.
The annual Regional Robotics Convention. I hear there's going to be a display with square wave motion units. I can't wait.
And I can't wait to finally meet some robots like me.
Now, XJ9, don't get your circuits overheated. It's very unlikely that you'll meet another robot like you. You've been programmed using the advanced Cybocell 19 language. Most robots are lucky to be programmed in Cybocell 12.
She grows headphones out of her head. Very nice.
She has everything. She can do anything.
It's very bendery.
Yeah, very. Actually, there's a gag in the pilot and first episode that they repeat that Jenny doesn't eat things. Like she can't, but she wants to hang out with the kids and prove she's normal. So when they eat ice cream, she eats it whole and then she kind of turns away from the others and opens her stomach in the Bender style and takes the ice cream out and pretends she didn't do it. These scenes here really remind me of my mom driving me to comic conventions in my youth. Though my mom wasn't excited at all for the comic conventions. In this case, Nora and Jenny are both excited for this, but for different reasons. Because Jenny there are no other robots like her except for her siblings, who the implication at the end of the episode is that they are turned off.
They're all deactivated, yeah.
Which seems kind of cruel.
They get one more night.
I guess they can't be regulars on the show because that's not the show they're doing.
They're all very one note anyway. So.
Oh, yeah. They're not versatile enough for multiple episode appearances anyway. But yes, I like Jenny's vision of her friends. And also, again, back to Batman, the design of this fair, this convention really reminds me of the Mask of the Phantasm when they go to the Future World's Fair. Yep. Even down to like the shading on robotics there and everything. And as Jenny, she imagines meeting cute robo boys even. Like that's so, I like when there's adorable things like that. She likes, Jenny goes both ways. She likes humans and robots. As Jenny is fantasizing, she's taken out of her fantasy.
XJ9. XJ9. XJ9!
Mother! Please don't call me that in front of the other robots. It's so embarrassing.
But
Can't you call me Jenny? Just for today?
Yes, but
Now just leave me be until we get to the convention.
We are at the convention.
Thanks, Mom. See you later.
XJ9, wait!
Just immediately runs off so she doesn't have to be seen with her embarrassing mom. We all know those feelings as a teen.
But she still wants attention from her mom.
You could extrapolate it, I guess, to the idea of dead naming of just like, no, my name is Jenny. It's not XJ9.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's meant more like, say your name's Robert and you're like, no, my name is Bob. Mom, please call me Bob.
Yeah.
Like that's how it goes.
In my case, my family calls me Bobby and I just live with it.
That is how I am with my mom too. Well, though I've said it before, my childhood nickname growing up was Max, not Henry.
Max Power.
It was because I am Henry III, but they're like, we don't really want to call you Henry. We just are. It's your name on legal documents. But then when I started a professional career, I was like, I'll just go by Henry. I don't want to explain Max to every single person I meet. And so now my mom just has to go like, Max, Henry, I'm sorry. I was like, no, call me whatever you want, Mom. I don't.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
And also great acting on Wakeman hurt at Jenny's anger. Like she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like she didn't mean to hurt her feelings. It's really, though at this point, like, come on, Nora, just call her Jenny.
Yeah. It's been how many episodes?
Yeah. And yet she can't, it's fun to say Nyan. Like
and if I had that accent, I'd say Nyan.
And when Jenny arrives at the place, her initial excitement really reminds me of Dee Dee on Dexter's Lab, too. Like a lot of her like prancing about and everything. And the drill bot that she meets in the opening sound of this episode, it really reminds me in design-wise of Iron Giant, too.
Yeah.
Just it's like very flat and totalitarian, industrial. She's in the industrial section. And she doesn't realize it. I love, though, the gag of like, the little arm comes out that you think is going to shake her hand, and it's just to grab her better than the giant arm.
And all of these robots are just serving humans or doing things for humans. They're not there to be your friend. Yeah. They're basically slaves.
More Futurama. But yes, Jenny is having trouble making friends, even with little animals. Like Ibos are pretty useless.
Yeah, they were new in 2003, right?
Yeah. Oh, very new, yeah. But they couldn't pee, so this one in it
No.
is even better. And also the little gag, I guess you call it a gag, but like the cat, rabbit, and fish that go just like meow, sniff, blub.
Yeah.
In front of that's a real funny little gag.
This is another
too.
episode where Oils is standing for another bodily fluid.
Yeah, that's true. And yes, Jenny then finally finds some robots that actually can speak.
Wow, a toilet tissue ironer, crisp and sharp, just like a fine dress shirt.
Can this a machine that really controlling my unruly mustache? That's a fantastic. An automatic knuckle polisher. Hey, Thelma Lou, check out Thams.
Thams is lovely. This convention is lame. None of these robots even know how to talk.
Some refreshments for sir.
Crumpets for milady. Would you like a soothing cup of tea? Finally. Hi, my name's Jenny, and I really like the way... Gosh, I thought I'd go all day without finding someone... Hey, spare a few words for a fellow robot? Whoa, I just wanted to say hi.
Oh, for goodness sake, just let the poor thing go.
Those snooty British robots.
Yeah.
Man.
I was wondering if they were trying to make a somewhat edgy joke with that redneck guy.
Yeah.
Because, like, he punches through a pane of glass, like, that his wife is on the other side of, and when she starts saying, you know, that's them's real lovely, what'd she say?
Yeah, like, oh, them's is nice.
Yeah, she's like missing a tooth. I'm like, is she getting hit by this guy?
I think they were getting away with implied domestic violence there, with the knuckle polisher.
Yeah.
Which also, like, he just happily punches through a pane of glass.
It's just hanging there, yeah.
Well, and also the idea of sharp toilet tissue, that's also very funny.
Like a press shirt.
That mustache man, I think his voice is even the same voice actor as of the mustache man at the start of our Samurai Jack episode.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it could be the same guy.
Oh my! It's that guy was great and drawn very similar though, slightly more realistic in Samurai Jack than the mustache man in this. You know, I didn't mention that before with the Mario brothers in this. It totally fits too because they were made inspired by Fleischer Popeye cartoons. Or at least Mario was.
Yeah,
so
that makes a lot of sense.
the connection easily follows there. And when they're called domestic droids, they do remind me of the kind of servitude that the Star Wars droids are in, and that everybody's just like, who cares?
They're hospitality units.
Like C-3PO he's a person. Like R2-D2 is a person. When you put restraining bolts on them that's one of the few good things in Solo. They actually have a droid who's just like, you people are slaves. I have to free you.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was ever touched upon in the newer Star Wars movies I haven't seen.
Just
Although I think
really
I've only
in
not
Solo.
seen Solo, so.
Just really in Solo. And then that character's more of a joke character, but she does do a violent uprising, but then you're also supposed to laugh. It's like kind of all over the place.
I know Rouge 1 had that sassy robot we all liked.
Yeah, he's K9? No, I can't remember names.
Doesn't remember. It doesn't matter.
Jyn Erso. I remember
Erso.
her. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. I remember the actors.
That goes to show you how great Rogue One is in retrospect.
As she tries to hold on to the flying T-bot, it then smashes into the wall and she has to catch all the dishes. I love a good dish catching sequence.
Yeah.
It's an animation classic.
It's a very cool pose they have her in with all of the dishes like strewn across all of her parts in giant piles.
And she grows out more and more parts for it.
I thought the plot was going to turn and she would start working for these people or something. It's like, oh, you can really catch dishes.
Yeah.
What else can you do?
You know what? That is another place to take
I'm not saying it went in a bad direction. I was just misled by that scene. Like, oh, maybe that's her new role. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
But instead, the episode is about a battle between moms, and but that it really gets sparked when Nora meets some old classmates.
I should have known better than to let you wander around on your own. How could you?
Nora? Nora Wakeman? I thought that was you.
Oh, if it isn't my old classmate, Phineas Mogg.
So tell me, this tall one that knocks down walls, is it one of your inventions?
Yes.
Well done, Nora. How did you manage to program so many defects into only one automaton?
You're gonna let him talk about me that way?
Say, XJ9, why don't you take your little teapot friend to the robot break room?
Lame robots, nasty humans. This convention has it all.
Also reminds me of Farnsworth a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Getting razzed by his old colleagues.
That's true. It is very Farnsworth. The designs on Mog and his two friends are very funny looking too, like classic. Honestly, every scientist that we'll see in the action scene later all look great. But like they just find so much comedy, just gags in the designs of regular people.
Yeah, the designs are very fun to look at.
And you weren't hearing things. That was Neil Ross as Mog.
No way.
Shipwreck himself.
Okay.
VO Vet, you'll hear him in many things. I think that almost feels like a deep pull. They're like, we want this old type of voice from 80s scientist kind of voice. He's basically doing the same voice he did for Benton Quest in the first episode of Harvey Birdman.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Very, very similar guys, and came out around. He played that 2 years before this. Yeah, it borders on a comment on racism how they're treating Jenny. Or like adopted too. They're like, oh, is this your daughter? She really is something. Like, there's other episodes about how they won't serve robots places, and people are like, you robots smell.
Robots are a very easy device to talk about racism, often poorly.
Yeah, it's been as long as the idea of robots have existed, it's been used. So it would be fitting in this science fiction as well. Metropolis was about that as well, wasn't it? And this is very Metropolis.
That awful new David Cage game.
Oh, boy,
awful David Cage game. Do I even need to say that?
I love that David Cage that he thinks, what if they were black people? Has no one done this before? I'm such a genius.
Yeah, a very easy analogy for David Cage.
Detroit Become Human is the name of it. Anyway, Jenny then heads off to the indoctrination pod, really, where V is hanging out. And I gotta say, if Vexus is planning to brainwash robots, she picked a really good spot to do it.
Yeah.
This is how you create a robot uprising. So the quick version on the cluster is it's a planet full of free robots who hate humans. And so that's kind of where Jenny is stuck between, and in classic superhero fashion, like kind of Superman 2, of like, you're a person of two worlds. She loves her human friends, even the ones who don't like robots. But then there are these robots that she wants to fit in with, but they hate all the humans. Jenny is stuck in the middle. It's so hard for her.
So the cluster is not like a Borg kind of thing?
It's a little Borgy, but the characters, the people on the cluster are their own people.
Yeah, it seemed like it was going to be a recurring feature based on how I wouldn't use this episode idea once, the premise for this villain once, and then move on. It feels like there's more going on with that character.
Oh, yeah. This is all leading up to the movie in season 2. That's
especially
all about the cluster.
How she escapes at the end. Like, I'll be back next time, Gadget, or whatever.
The big fight in Cluster is between her and Vexus. So this is just building up for it. So that's also nice. Like, Dexter or Powerpuff Girls didn't have overarching plots that lead to big moments.
But Dexter did have a great movie. Ooh, I want to do that too.
Ego Trip?
Yeah.
Ooh, so that's the real ending. But yes, Jenny has found a new, better mom.
Why, hello there. I'm V. I run a robot rejuvenation clinic.
I'm Jenny, and you're the first friendly face that I've seen all day.
Come on in. I've got a free massage for you and your little teapot friend. Our massage tables are state-of-the-art. They're specially designed to relax the tired motors and achy servos of the modern robot. There you go, little fella. And Jenny, would you like to...
Help! Help!
Jenny, wait! Now, V, be patient. She'll be back. Stay calm.
Would you like a soothing cup of tea?
Why, my dear little teapot, you'll never have to pour another cup of tea. Welcome to the cluster.
I did enjoy their sound-alike version of Theme from a Summer Place.
I didn't notice until listening to it now. Yeah.
They didn't have that Freakazoid money where they could just license the song. They had to come up with their own version of it.
Not everybody's friends with Steven Spielberg.
That's true.
Yeah, I like, too, that Nora unwittingly saves Jenny from that by calling her away. She was just about to be grabbed. Also, the Mickey Mouse gloves on the massage machines, those are like totally out of a Disney rubber hose era cartoon, too. You could see those hands hands manipulating Donald Duck as he's screaming like, "Hey, no, don't do that."
That is true. Yeah, I miss gloves on characters in general.
Yeah, it's nice to see gloves. I don't like the questioning of gloves. Like, let bugs wear gloves. That's what I say. The great menace on V of saying welcome to the cluster. That's really great there. And so yes, pretty crappy of Nora though to use Jenny to show off her how good she built her daughter.
Like train like a dog or something like that. Yeah.
And Jenny is telling Nora off in this next clip.
What is it? Who needs my help?
2.57 seconds.
Well, I must admit that it is a fast response time. Perhaps this robot of yours is not totally useless after all.
Huh? Did you send a false alarm, Mom?
Mom? Did it just call you Mom?
Calm your circuits, XJ9, and stop embarrassing me.
I'm embarrassing you? You're the one who made me rush over here like an idiot. Well, if you think I'm gonna let you put me through my paces to impress your friends like I'm some robotic prancing pony, then you've got another thing coming.
XJ9, wait!
It looks like the robot holds the remote control in this family.
Stop it, Mog. XJ9!
It's you do feel real bad for Jenny that she's like, I can't even call you Mom. Like, fuck you. Like,
I did hear the Dr. Quest in his voice now that you mentioned that.
And Nora's just trying to show off for her school chums. Like, she's totally losing sight of Jenny as a person there. Like, it's sad. They're both, but I get Nora's pressure of wanting to impress old friends. Like, well, you know, and actually, I'm the coolest.
That's feel like a high school reunion of sorts, which I will never go to.
Oh my gosh, no, thank you. The only reason I'd go is if there was a wrestling show happening at the same time.
I wouldn't do that.
That's how much I love wrestling, Bob. And yeah, she runs off, and Nora immediately learns her mistake. She's like, "Oh no, XJ9!" She's calling and calling for her. And meanwhile, Jenny cannot see how V is being very pushy in this next scene when she goes back to her new mom. There is almost no time to set up that V is trying to be a replacement mother for her.
Yeah, it's an 11-minute cartoon.
You can get it thematically a bit, though. But yeah, that's, I wonder if Renzetti really likes going to, I think Gravity Falls. No, he did Family Guy before this. I was going to say Gravity Falls was kind of his first half-hour show to tell it in a full 22. But he did do Family Guy.
Yeah.
First or second season, I think it was.
His stamp was not on Family Guy, though.
No. It seemed very much more like just a job.
Yeah, like I can draw these ugly characters.
Oh, I can do some. I mean, also, Seth MacFarlane came up in the What a Cartoon system, too.
Yeah.
So it could just be another bro watching for bro.
Buddy a favor, yeah, which is fine.
Homies helping homies, as Jake the dog would say. But yes, V is being a little pushy here. Even stamps down Jenny, and great animation of Jenny dodging the cluster tagging, I guess you'd call it. Just her neck Jenny can do anything.
Yeah.
But then the true villain is revealed in a really cool animation trick.
All your troubles with those annoying humans will be forgotten as soon as you join the cluster.
You're with the cluster? Listen, V, my mom can deprogram you. You don't have to be a member of the cluster.
Oh, Jenny, I'm not a member of the cluster.
I am its queen, and you are about to become one of my loyal subjects.
It's gonna take more than your dirty tricks to make me join the cluster.
You know, Jennifer, you've got real spirit. I hope you don't waste it in defense of the meat people, because if you do, I'll crush you along with them.
Crush us? You and what army?
Glad you asked.
It's funny.
Zorak sounds there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the locust sounds. But it's funny that a lot of this episode is about dehumanizing Jenny. How her mom, quote unquote mom, is dehumanizing her, where now this villain is dehumanizing the human. She calls them meat people and animals and things like that. So there's a nice sort of split between the two moms there.
Yeah. No, and she is her mom. You know, Bob, a robot and a doctor lady.
That's a family.
That's a family. You knew where I was going.
Yeah. I saw you getting there.
Yes. Yeah. I like when we can reach the same reference at the same time. Where we have become the same person doing this podcast.
Eartha Kitt would not live very much longer than this. She passed away before the episodes finished airing, I think.
Oh, well, they delayed it for like 3 years.
Yeah, so she passed away on Christmas of 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Poor Eartha Kitt. She lived quite a full and long life. She was a superstar, and then she also was like a big time lefty in the 60s, so that kind of hurt her career some. But by the 90s, it was a whole new era of appreciating Eartha Kitt. At least for our generation, I just knew her as Catwoman, and then I slowly learned she did things other than Catwoman.
Yeah, actually, on Twitter within the past month or so, celebrities were talking about their craziest celebrity encounter, which was a very weird sort of thing that was happening. But I saw someone retweet. So Jack A. Harry, who you might know as the mom from Sister Sister, but she was on 227. She has a very unique way of speaking in a comedic role. She said her craziest celebrity encounter was when Eartha Kitt slapped her across the face for sleeping with her boyfriend.
That's right.
But she didn't know that the man she was sleeping with was Eartha Kitt's boyfriend. So she was slapped by Eartha Kitt.
I remember that. That was such a funny story. Eartha Kitt is just the type who will just slap you for taking her man. Though, really, they should have teamed up together to beat up that guy. But
I agree. Girl power.
That's Eartha Kitt for you. She has so much of her delicious cat energy in Vexus here.
I wish they would have cut the vocal effect by maybe 40% though, because I was like, is this an Eartha Kitt impression? And then I forgot to check the credits to see it was Eartha Kitt. But
yeah, no, I mean her in Emperor's New Groove. That's the height of her voice acting.
Yeah, she is that character too.
Yeah, I mean physically is that character. Yeah, she would play her in live action if they had done it. I remember too, with her passing away, it left Simpsons in a difficult situation. They recorded her what must have been not too long before her death.
Oh, right.
It was the episode where Krusty marries a young lady who's played by Anne Hathaway.
Okay, yeah.
And at the wedding, a bunch of his old wives show up to tell him to not get married. And I believe they originally just recorded her to Eartha Kitt shows up and says, I was married to Krusty, don't marry him, he was bad. But it was so long after that she had died that they redid the animation of and Eartha Kitt left in her video will that she didn't want you to marry him.
Wow.
So they still use the audio they recorded, but
that's one hell of a retake.
I mean, it's the respectful thing to do. It is the reveal of Vexus, the unfurling of her wings, showing that her outside body was all fake. That's such great animation.
A bee lady.
Yeah, as she's the queen bee. That's who she is, the cluster. Also, the great animation of her just of the badass boss move of just catching the thing thrown at her, carefully placing it down and sitting on it oh, Jenny. And also, Jenny really sets her up for you and what army.
Right. You never want to say that when someone could potentially have an army.
Don't question it. Yeah. Don't. Even if they're going to show off that army, don't give them the chance to really zing you on it. And then the robots start going mad all around the convention center. Another Mask of the Phantasm moment was the meat cutting robot. Really reminded me of the robo wife of Joker in that movie.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
And also one guy seemingly went to sleep while he was getting his hair cut. and though my favorite is the refrigerator fighting the chef. That's my favorite of the
just slamming its freezer door shut while chasing the chef. Yeah.
Well, the chef is such he's a pizza box design of a chef too. That's why I like. And Vexus is already taken over the convention center, and she has a very fascist pulpit speech with her cluster flags all around her. It's really great design too.
Yeah.
Robots of Earth, throw off your shackles of servitude. The cluster has come to liberate you, and we only ask one thing in return. Destroy the flesh wearers.
Flesh wearers, meat bags.
Vexus really has a point, though. They are all in servitude. All of these robots are invented to do things and have no life.
She's convinced me.
Yeah, I'm on your side. Every time in this where they have communist visions, I'm you know what? I think they got a point. This looks really cool.
And I'm frankly sick of flesh.
I mean, in the Disneyland episode where she gets all the robots on her side, I'm I agree with Jenny. These robots need to be free.
Free the robots and shut that boring ride down. I mean, I'm not saying anything new, but goddamn, that ride is so long.
There's so much history to it, Bob. Yeah. You can't go back on the history.
Still have 5 more continents left.
God damn, that's the song in that episode. It's funny, but it's not as good as Duff Beer for Me, Duff Beer for You.
Yeah.
That still feels like the top of Small World parodies. But yes, there's some really cool action poses on Jenny as she stops all of the mind-controlled bots first in a very like non-lethal way of just unplugging people or removing their CDs.
Yeah.
At which point I first thought like, oh, then she's not going to kill these guys. And then she just starts beating the shit out of them and crushing all these robots.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a bunch of gags about deactivating them peacefully. And then she just starts beating the shit out of them.
I wonder too if all this robot on robot violence was a lesson he learned from Samurai Jack, that Renzetti on Samurai Jack, they knew you can't kill humans on the show,
Right.
but he can cut up robots all day long.
Everything is a robot except for the main character.
It's a weird, that must have been really driving Samurai Jack crazy. He couldn't know what wasn't a robot in that world. But yeah, I also think the cowboy bot that smashes her with a chair really reminds me of Twinkie the Kid.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I wonder if that was intentional. Also, I like that Jenny, while she's beating them all up, she still has time to appreciate how well it dusts her knuckles too. Like, it did a good job. And these killer robots running straight at you with the Art Deco design really was reminding me of BioShock also.
Oh,
in this
BioShock,
episode.
okay, yeah.
I was getting a lot of that. Or like BioShock was pulling from the same well.
Yeah,
in art
yeah.
design, which is way cooler looking to me than the like 1900 stuff BioShock Infinite was going for. Like, I much prefer the Art Deco styling.
Yeah, let's just forget about BioShock Infinite forever in general.
But Bob, there's always another lighthouse. There always will.
Turns
be
out there won't be because that guy stopped making games forever.
It's been these 6 years, man. There's going to be something great at the end of that.
Just you wait.
He's going to show all of you guys. Jenny is seemingly getting the edge on them even when the industrial bots show up. I really like how she's dodging bullets, except they're giant flaming lug nuts.
And again, we saw all of these characteristics of these characters earlier in a non-lethal context, but now they're using them as weapons and things like that against her. So it's all very gag-based humor.
Yeah, and just as Jenny seems to be at her lowest point, she gets inspiration from her real mom.
We both lose here today, Jennifer. I lose a glorious addition to the cluster, and you lose your life.
You'll never destroy my daughter!
She called me her daughter. Hey, Mr. Wrecking Ball!
It's kind of a very Spider-Man sequence of like making other robots break each other by goofing on them.
Yeah. I have to wonder if, how many times in the series can you have that moment between her and her mom?
More than you think.
I was wondering, they have to go back to this well a lot, it seems like.
But it's really touching in this one here, though, that she says, my daughter. Like, that's very sweet. I mean, the pilot has that same moment where she just treats Jenny as, like, somebody she orders around to save the world. So it's like, there's a meteor coming, Jenny. And she's like, but I want to play. At the end of the episode, Jenny is going to have fun, and then Wakeman says, oh, well, I'll let her have fun just this once. What's the worst that could happen? And then an alien invasion happens.
I mean, I'm not on a high horse. We do Talking Simpsons, of course, and it's not like at the end of every episode, I'm like, well, Homer learned to respect Marge, and he'll remember that forever.
Yes.
Of course not.
The importance of repeated sitcoms is that you always forget those things. And Wakeman gives the needed distraction. It's then a mom fight between her and Vexus, which she's not doing so good in. Wakeman will do much better in their rematch they have in the Escape from the Cluster special. Again, it really, I think you'd enjoy that one, especially if you want to remember Chris Riccardi. It's a good one too.
We'll definitely do a big tribute to him next month.
And but yes, Nora and Vexus are fighting, and Vexus knows it's time for her to make her escape.
Your army is gone, Vexus. It's just you and me now.
Your strength impresses me, Jennifer, but you still have a fatal weakness. Your love of animals. Well, Jenny dear, that's all I have time for today, but I'll be calling on you again. Ta-ta.
Disappears in the fridge portal.
Which is then gone when Jenny jumps into it, which makes her covered in food, which was very funny. I love the kaleidoscope art design of her portal. Like, that's so great looking.
Is that like a Ghostbusters thing, or... That wasn't Ghostbusters, right? The portal in the fridge, right?
Yes, that was the portal to the demons that possess Sigourney Weaver. In that movie. No, they could easily have done a digital effect on there.
Yeah.
But instead, they wanted to make it look as like old and hokey as possible. I really love that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, just art. God, the colors, children in this show.
Good color design all over.
Alex Kerwin, a big part of that, according to Renzetti. And so, yes, the day is saved, and Jenny gets her very sweet and touching ending here.
Wow,
That's incredible!
She flew.
She fought.
She conquered. Wakeman, this machine of yours, it's amazing. You simply must make one for me.
There's no way to duplicate a robot of such superior abilities. There is only one robot like XJ. I mean, there's only one daughter like Jenny.
Stop it, Mom. You're embarrassing me.
She's happily embarrassed.
I like her little blush. That's cute too.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I mean, it's an easy go to the heartstrings kind of ending, but I'm kind of glad, the previous one they had a joke to cut through the treacle. I like that this one's just like, you know what? No, Jenny just deserved being treated sweetly by Miss Wakeman.
Sincerity can be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sincerity. It doesn't all have to be irony and references to like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, I really got into this series. I watched a lot of it. It brought me back to the shows I loved in the 90s of Dexter and Powerpuff. I like those shows a little bit more. There's just like one little extra spice missing for me, but maybe it's that I wasn't 15 when I saw it. Maybe that's the extra spice missing.
And this is all on Hulu, right?
Yes, all
in America.
Seasons, yeah.
The United States of America. Not Canada, not Mexico, not South America, just America.
I feel really bad for Canadians that they can't see this on Hulu.
God, the CBC's got a stranglehold on that stuff, I think. Like
they really do.
We'll put this on Teletoon.
Boo!
Where it belongs. Well, I want to say that I'm glad these requests have me dipping into cartoons I didn't watch because I thought I was too cool. It turns out I'm very lame. I'm taking that lameness to the bank with my podcast network. So thank you so much, Shy Ranger, for exposing me to this cartoon. I'd like to do more cartoons from this era where I missed a lot of it or only dipped in a little. Things like we talked about a few of them. The Fairly Odd Parents, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Anything from like 2000 to like 2008 or 9.
Codename Kids Next Door.
Maybe. It felt like a different kind of Rugrats. Like Recess, I liked Recess. That was a different kind of Rugrats.
They're all a different type of Rugrats.
Yeah.
Like Rugrats was a very inspirational show.
I did remember liking Recess a lot, but maybe that'll be a future show. We have so many shows to do, frankly.
Do you see how long this show can go? We don't even have to repeat stuff, though. We will be repeating one soon, as we said. But basically, games, Ren and Stimpy are different shows anyway. So that's how I like to consider it, just so you can erase the stink of John Kay from everything.
And they're much more in this style.
Very much
And
so,
John Kay would scream about how flat they looked. But yes, thanks again to Shy Ranger for requesting this episode and for his great patronage. If a spot opens up, you may get to request an episode of your choice too. But we keep those spots very limited because we want to fluctuate between our picks and your picks, and we want total control because we're control freaks.
But the picks are usually really great.
Yeah, I've been surprised by so many shows I wouldn't even think of. Like, I forgot this show existed. Like, if you showed me an image of it, I might have remembered the name of it.
Yeah, so we appreciate all the deep picks we got, and we got some more coming up from our premium patrons. Though if you want to just be a regular patron, don't let that stop you just because there's not the $50 ones open.
Exactly. Hey, guess what, guys? Please go to patreon.com/Talking Simpsons. And if you sign up at the $5 level, you'll have access to so many bonuses, including every episode of this podcast and Talking Simpsons 1 week ahead of time and ad-free. You also get all of our limited series like Talking Futurama, Talking Critic, and the currently unfurling Talking of the Hill, our first season treatment of King of the Hill, and frankly, so many other bonus podcasts. I can't even name them here. We've been doing this for almost 2 years now, so think of all the content that you haven't heard yet. There's a lot of it, folks.
And there's even more if you want to go one step above to the $10 and up level. There you can not only get all of our previous premium patron access, but also our current What a Cartoon Movie podcast, where we do what we do for this show, but for a different animated feature film once a month. Our most recent one I mentioned earlier in this podcast, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the 2018 Oscar-winning film. And in the May, you'll be hearing another really cool one that folks are voting on right now at the time of this recording, not now when you hear this. Look, it all makes sense. Just go to patreon.com/Talking Simpsons and check out the What a Cartoon Movie podcast today.
That's right. Again, that is patreon.com/talkingsimpsons. And as for me, I've been one of your hosts, Bob Mackey. You can find me on Twitter as Bob Servo. My other podcast, on top of all the cartoon podcasts I do, is Retronauts, a classic gaming podcast. Go to retronauts.com or look for Retronauts in your podcast device. You'll find it there. Subscribe to it and listen to it. Why don't you? Henry, how about you?
Hey, I've been your other host, Henry Gilbert. You can follow me on Twitter at HENEREYG. Follow me there for all the updates on new podcasts that we put up. Anytime new things go on the Patreon, I be sure to release it on my Twitter. That's HENEREYG.
Thank you so much for listening, folks. We'll see you next week with Amara, episodes 1 and 2. We'll see you then.
Gone to town for supplies. Please move Quantum Gigulator to the basement. Love, Mom. P.S. I left some motor oil out in case you get thirsty. Cheers.
If you're in business, you probably have a website, but can your site handle your growth? How many visitors before your site slows down or crashes? What about storage and data security? From web hosting to virtual servers, Pair Networks provides the online infrastructure you need to start, grow, and flourish. When it comes to security and updates, don't worry, we've got you covered. Our 24/7 US-based customer support is the best in the industry. No frustrating chatbots or sitting on hold for hours. Check out pair.com today to learn more. That's PAIR.com.